Yom HaShoah, I brought out our Czech Torah scroll. So then we'll have a little dramatic reading, and then we'll wrap up the service. But this is a Torah scroll that was brought to Hollywood Temple Beth about 1988. It was a repository that was found in Czechoslovakia. The Nazis had created a museum. They were creating a museum for the victory over the Jewish people. They had something like 1,800 scrolls that they set aside in Czechoslovakia. And so very old ones, they're very different typeface, right? So they have a very different print than the others. And they were put out on loan to synagogues around the world, actually. So we have one of them. And they asked us, please, from time to time, take it out and show it. So there's some unique elements into the script. The Czech Torah scripts are very different from Ashkenazic and Sephardic. And so I'm going to put up for us. And it was a little bit confusing when I looked it up, because the description of the scroll is a scroll that's 25 inches. This scroll is much shorter. And
the writing is the same.
No, the writing is unique writing. It's a Czechoslovakian writing. It's different from Ashkenazic and Sephardic. That's it. Czech. No, but these Torah scrolls are a mix. Why? Because Czechoslovakia was one of the places, or Czechia, Bohemia, was one of the places where Spanish Sephardic rabbis escaped to in the big center. So the rabbis there were all Sephardic heritage. So the Torah scrolls were influenced by this, and so they have a very unique writing style. This scroll confused me because, as I said, it's smaller than the original scroll, but what they said was it was heavily damaged, and in the repairs, it was cut from both ends, and new rollers were put on them instead. This was that heavily damaged. So I have the notes. Well, I'm just putting this up. You can see. Put this up on the board. Did you put? Didn't the share screen? Did I? That would help. Hold on one second. Got it. There we go. Yeah. The wording is, it's just the unique print. It's unique print. Yeah. There we go. So now, on the junk here, let's move this up and enlarge it. There we go. So this is the notes that came with it about where the condition of the parchment, very old, creased in some places, and their rubbings in certain parshiot and so on. So I said, okay, let me go through, and I'm going to show this. So indeed, I went through and I took some pictures just to make sure and confirm. Indeed, it has all the markings that the original Sofer examined the scrolls prepared for the collection. So you can see here a crease mark. This old parchment, very old parchment's crease. Yeah, okay, good point. And you can see here you see the shadows well, some is my shadow, but they're crease marks here. They don't show up so well. Now, the print, you can see, is closer to a Sephardic print in some senses than Ashkenazi. Why? The letters are simpler. Ashkenazic print, your filials are much bigger. You know, the little squiggles at the end and the top, much more flourish. Sephardic is a little bit faster. It's a faster script, and so the written has fewer flourishes. There's certain indications, certain kinds of the way the letters are shaped and so on. So it shows this mix of Sephardic and Ashkenazic. That's why we know that it's, then you see patchwork. You see the word lo, and then you see a circle around it, because there was a hole there. And so somebody was able to make a very good patchwork there so that you don't notice it anymore. And it reads like the rest of the letters, pretty close. And then over here, and again, this may not be so easy, but over here, that is a tape. That line is a tape that has been taped over part where it was really torn, heavily torn. So in some places, entire sections were so worn out that they had to be replaced. So I'm sorry, the patch up. But you see this line here? And so it's two lines that were completely unusable. The sofer had to come in and copy. Now, when did he do it? I don't know, but it was redone at some point, and then maybe the sofer pulled up an old piece of parchment so that it looks similar to it. But these are the damages that were in it. So what I want to do for us now is I'm going to open it up and just ask you to come up one, make a little single file. So I'm going to open it up very carefully because it's in very sensitive condition. They asked that we would read it. I don't want to read from it because, yeah, if you come here, pull this up. So this one's about 250 years old. That's the estimate based on the kind of parchment and so on. There's some other indications. Parchment sizes are irregular. Some of the parchments are longer. The pages. Some of them are longer than other pages, depending on what cloth the sofer could get hold of. Whereas the Ashkenazic and the Sephardic generally have uniform sizes, and then the binding. It's also the kind of stitching is apparently a unique kind of stitching that is found in the Czech. The stitching is a little different than the Sephardic and the Ashkenazic. So can last 1,000 years if they kept, yeah, because the oldest manuscripts we have are Codex Ben Asher. No, the sofer thought it was 400, but it was a mistake. The other sofer came and said it's 250 is probably. So I have here set to the 10 Commandments, set to the Brot, and you can see how. So just make a line, come up here one by one, and just walk through, and then I go ahead with the service, right? So the Aseret HaDivrot, and you can see how the pages here were worn in several places. Here, this has been fixed, and so on. So go ahead, Amra. Yeah. You can see here also in the parchment stains where may have been worn thin, may have been something done to Rick the page. This is for Yom HaShoah. Yeah. I'm gonna do part of it. Wait, after. No, yeah, after this, I have special meeting. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
translate what it
Yeah.
is.
No, I'm gonna do partisan.
Okay.
Partisan. Yeah. I got Paul Robeson, you'll sing with. It's the kind of script. It's the size is not the issue. It's less flourishes. On an Ashkenazi script, there's more flourishes. They had more time. They put more time into it. Also, the tear, right? You can see the binding here. Okay. Next. Then we have three general types. There's the Sephardic script, it's also called Velish. There is the general Ashkenazic script. And then there's also Beit Yosef script. Yeah, that's the Ashkenazic script. Then there's an Ari script, which is some Kabbalistic circles use. And this one has some of a combination of both. By the over there, that parchment has it may be also from Czech, only because it has an unusual letter pei. The letter pei where it has extra circles inside the letter pei. Pei Sophia and the.
So over here has some little things in the top.
Yeah, those are Tagin. So again, there's a little difference between the way the Sephardim do it, the way the Ashkenazim do it. So as I say, it's a mixed format.
It's very clear.
Yeah. Well, both scripts have to be clear. You have to be able to read it. A 6-year-old has to be able to read it. That's the rule. If a 6-year-old can't read it, then it's not good. No, it's stitched. It's all stitched together.
What is the parchment?
Parchment, the skin.
Is it skin of a lamb or?
A calf. Good question. Which it's calf, but where what kind? Generally calf. They can use other as kosher animals. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, from the outside. There we go. What?
In the other scrolls, maybe you have to look,
The crowns, yeah, tagging. Yeah, those are across the board. There are little differences in the shaping, but it's very ancient tradition to put them on certain letters. Shatnas, Bagats, I think is, I forget the letters. Yeah. It's a good question. You can't produce very many. I mean, that's why scrolls are very expensive. New ones are very expensive. You got to pay for the sofa and his 10 kids. So the new ones, I don't know what the new price is. Old ones are going at 20.
how much would this be worth?
Well, this one,
Closer?
because it's heavily damaged, so you really couldn't really sell it for very much. Basically, it's something you would put aside, you wouldn't use, even though it's repaired correctly. But yeah, it's repaired correctly. Okay, everybody get a chance to come up? Yeah. Huh? So it's parchment, it's the
so,
skin.
okay.
It's treated a certain
Yeah.
way so that the hairs are removed, right? And then one side's a smooth side, one side's a rough side. Beyond that, I'm not a sophist, I'm not so expertise in the technique. But you use gum Arabic for the ink. That's the current method for the ink itself. And there's an ink that does not soak into the parchment. It's glued to the parchment. Therefore, if there's a problem, you can erase it. You can scrape it clean and rewrite over it. That makes it possible to correct. Because it would soak into the parchment. It would be much harder to correct. Yeah. There we go. Now put this up.
Pull up, pull down. Okay, got it.
In. Huh? No, it's been hidden in the main arc. But now we have a problem with the main arc. We discovered a big problem and we're going to move all the Torah scrolls. There's water damage in the main arc. This one has stayed dry somehow. Okay, so it's not the roof. This water has somehow seeped into the ark in the main dam. They're going to redo everything. They're going to redo it. I spoke with them. So we have to find a hiding place for the Torah scrolls. We'll take care of that Monday. Yeah, well, for some of them, but they also have the problem with their Sephardic scrolls. Same problem. They have to find a hiding place for it. All right, so now I want to go to a little dramatic reading. Huh? Oh, yeah. No. It's going to be hidden in a hidden hiding place where you'll never see it. It'll be so well hidden, I won't remember. That's, all right, now go. Our reading for this. And I've given some volunteers the readings. I'm going to put it up on the screen for us. Again, share.
Who's number one? That's number one.
Open.
Who has number one?
Okay, no, I'm number one, so
Okay.
I made that easy.
Number two?
You're number two. Let me just get it up for
Where's your mic?
everybody. Share screen. Okay. Second. Here. And I'm going to introduce this for us. Colleagues of mine put together a Megillah for Yom HaShoah, just like we have Megillah for Lamentations, for Echa, Megillah meaning a scroll. right? Megillat HaShoah. It's by Professor Avigdor Shinan and done in Hebrew. And it was translated by one of my great colleagues and friend of my father, Rabbi Jules Harlow of the Rabbinical Assembly. And then I just adapted some elements of selection out of it. So I'm going to just recite the opening verses and then call on the participants just come up here and talk into the microphone. Reshit Devar Amar Kotev Divrei Hayim Arukot Hen Toldotav Shel Am Olam Alfei Shanim Bahen Shnot Tova Shnot Ra'ah Shanim Shlevot V'Shanim Ayumot בארצו הבניך בין האומות וכעם חופשי זכה לימים רבים של נחת מהלכן תרם מכוחותיו לאחיו בני האדם והעניק להם את האמונה באל אחד ואת יום השבת את ספר הספרים ואת מוסר הנביאים. In the beginning, so spoke the chronicler. Long is the history of the eternal people, extending for millennia, including good years and bad years, tranquil years and dreadful years, in its own land and in the diaspora lands, among the nations and as a free people, it enjoyed long periods of repose, during which it contributed of its endowments to fellow mortals, bestowing upon them the Sabbath and faith in one God, the book of books and the teachings of the prophets. So number 2 and number 3, before come on up here. Got it.
Nevertheless,
Oh, you're number 2. Number 2.
sorry, at times, however, in darkness and difficult days, I struggle under the burdens imposed by vanquishers and subjugators. It was afflicted, body and soul, by religious wars and persecutions, burning at the stake and being crowded into ghettos, blood libel and pogroms, expulsions and exiles, degradation and division.
There is. Number 3, read it, number 3. And
I'm going to read it from here.
All right.
Nevertheless, the people gritted its teeth and accepted the heavenly judgment and groaning, even at times stretched its neck on the sacrificial altar. Homeless and hunted, sought a haven, a refuge for resting a while, until the time of wrath had passed.
number 4. Read it, number 4. Eli, I think, did I give you number 4? Ellie. No, come up here. Come up here. You read from here. Yeah, over here. You can read from here into the microphone.
What befell the people Israel in Nazi Europe, however, is beyond classification, and what confronted its sons and daughters defies description. Untold numbers were forced out of their homes, torn from their families, trampled in the dust, worked to death. 6 million created in the divine image were strangled, cremated, shot, buried alive. They died of starvation, of thirst, and of the cold. This time the monster stretched open its mouth beyond bounds, with a blood-curdling shriek and with stinking breath, and sought to eradicate everything. Without mercy, it set out to destroy, to slaughter, and to lay waste entire people, from those nearing the end of their days to embryos in their mothers' wombs.
Now, I'm going to read this section, and I'm going to have you reply where it says congregation. The heavenly voice hovering cries out, "For these do I weep." For Gertrude's parents who were torn away from each other, the reply, "For these do I weep." For Gertrude and Anushka, Gittel, Helen, and Grazi, whose vitality came to an end in labor camps, for these do I weep. For members of the Judenrat and for the Jewish couple who were asked to fulfill a task that no human being could fulfill, for these do I weep. For Lazar, who in his most terrifying nightmares never saw his brother pulling gold teeth from his corpse, for these do I weep. For these do I weep, and for the millions crowded in ghettos and in detention camps, for those wandering in forests, those hidden in attics and underground bunkers. For those who found refuge in the bosom of another faith who lost their God. For those who were given over to experiments, the hand of wild beasts, called doctors and scientists. For those who died of hunger and of thirst, smothered to death in freight trains or in gas chambers, shot, buried alive, or cremated. For those who were brought out to be killed by hanging so they would be seen. For those who sanctified God's name in the name of the people Israel, refusing to be subdued, fighting to the death. For those who lost their homes, their dignity, and their hope. And for those left alive to live the horror anew, day after day, moment after moment. For all these do I weep. And number 5 and number 6 coming up, and 7. Number 5 coming up here, yeah. And number 6, and I get number 6 too. Okay, so good. After. Number 5, go ahead.
Again did the chronicler speak. At the edges of the night, the first rays of dawn could be discerned. They shone upon the remnants of human beings in striped clothing who stared at their surroundings with dead eyes.
Slowly, slowly, people returned to their homes and family members were reunited. People married again and children were born. Wave upon wave poured into the east and the state of Israel arose. The centers of Jewish life flourished throughout the world. Perhaps this is the way in which heaven sought some consolation for those who suffered and mourned.
Nevertheless, it was impossible to restrain the angel of dreams who continues to terrify the rescued night after night. Impossible to silence the gnawing voice of conscience, which demands an explanation for satanic evil and for apathetic hearts. Such questions, why God, why? Why us? Why them? Why now? Why in that way? Are left suspended in midair, hovering over all human deeds, and there is no response.
Time will tell what we have learned. Only time will reveal whether we truly have listened to the voice of the blood of the slaughtered crying out from the earth. Do not mourn much, but do not sink into the forgetfulness of apathy. Do not allow days of darkness to return. Weep, but wipe the tears away. Do not absolve and do not exonerate. Do not attempt to understand. Learn to live without an answer. So our blood live. Yamim yagidu ma lamdenu, ma lamadnu, rak hazman yigale, im ikshavnu bemet lekolo shel dam hanitzachim, ad zo'ek elenu min ha'adama. אל תתאבלו יותר מדי, אך אל תשקעו בשכחה של אדישות. אל תניחו לימי החושך שישובו, וגם מחקו את הדמעה. אל תמחלו ואל תסלחו, ואל תנסו להבין. לימדו לחיות ללא מענה, בדמנו חיו. I want to turn now to the partisan lead. I'm going to put up this. It's Paul Robeson. And it's very important here. It's a unique recording sung by Robeson as part of the legendary Moscow concert of 1949. Robeson, hero of African-American rights, gave this on tour at the Soviet Union, which was then under Stalin. And he wasn't supposed to do something like this, and it was a surprise, though. He gave it at the concert. And the son records that one could hear a pin drop during my father's remarks about the deep and enduring cultural ties between the Jewish communities of the Soviet Union and the United States, about the common traditions of the great Yiddish writer Shalom Aleichem, about the continued vitality of the Yiddish language. Finally, he announced that he would sing a song of the Jewish partisans who fought to death against the fascist oppressors in the Warsaw Ghetto. Since the song had to be sung in Yiddish, he would explain the lyrics in Russian as follows. Never say that you have reached the very end, when leaden skies a bit of future may portend. For should the hour for which we yearn will not arrive, amid our marching steps will thunder, we survive. The marching steps will thunder. So he says, for a moment there was no sound, and then a single woman stood up and applauded. Then the entire audience joined in a swelling wave of applause before he even sang a single note. All this was cut off from the recording by the censors. By the way, even today, in Russia today, they have the commemorations of the end of World War I. Is it on when did it, May 5th, I think, they have the commemorations. They limited all reference to Jewish partisans. They also limited all references to Ukrainian resistance fighters. Also, were erased from the records. Babi Yar, at Babi Yar, there was a mass grave, and the mass grave, there was all the mention of Jews being buried there had been erased.
Yeah.
Right? That was forbidden. So when forbidden. So when Robeson got up and sang, it was a shock for Stalin's censors. But he got up and sang. Zognit kein mal. So never say that you have gone on the last way. So I'm going to put it up here for us, and then Barbara, you can sing along, but it's Robeson's song. I want to have everybody see if I can get it right. There we go. So now listen to the introduction.
Гетто, оккупированной немцами Варшавы.
Keinmal als du gehst dem letzten Wege, den Himmeln bleien verstellen bläue Teg, weil kommen wird noch unser Häuschen mit Schau, uns wird abbeugt an unser Gott mir seinen Gott, weil kommen wird noch unser Häuschen mit Schau, uns wird abbeugt an unser Gott mir seinen Gott. Kommen bis weiten Land von Schnee, wir seinen Träumen verfein mit unser Weg. Und wenn gefallen ist es spritzt von unser Blut, wird noch sprotzt von unser Geburt unser Mut. Und wenn gefallen ist es spritzt von unser Blut, wird noch sprotzt von unser Geburt unser Mut. Geschrieben ist das Lied mit Bluten, nicht mit Blei. Es ist nicht ein Lied von Sommer Vogel auf der Frei. Das hat auf Volk zwischen Fallen dicke Wind. Das Lied gesungen mit ner Gannes in die Hand. Das hat auf Volk zwischen Fallen dicke Wind. Das Lied gesungen mit ner Gannes in die Hand.
There's in the synagogue in Prague, there's a whole wall with olden names.
Yeah.
The people who perished.
Yes.
In Prague.
They have a whole wall with the names. All the people who perished in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah. Czechoslovakia. I'm considered Czech. There's an encyclopedic biography of Bohemian and Czech Jews in America. Oh, no, it's Czech, significant Czech in America. And it has lots of rabbis who are descended from rabbis of Czechoslovakia. So I'm in there. My father's in there because the family, one of the ancestors was out of Prague. So I'm in that encyclopedia. It's official Czech. My father was officially a Czech also because he escaped Czechoslovakia, and he spent 6 months having a vacation in Spielberg Castle, which was the prison that the Austrian Empire had built for its prisoners, and then the Nazis took over and put all the undesirables in before they went on to go and start World War II. So that makes me technically Czech also, sort of.
And they have a big cemetery.
In Prague.
In Prague.
The synagogue of the
the synagogue.
The Altneuschule. Yeah.
I was there.
I have to go.
I was there a couple.
This is my bucket list.
Yeah. The what?
Oh, why couldn't they buy more land and the cemetery had to dig deep?
Oh, this is a. Yeah. I know, what about people to buy the cemetery here?
No, no, in Prague, there's Prague, they limited the territory for the cemetery, so they dug deeper. 12 feet deep. 12 people in a row, okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
No, I was there about 2 or 3 times, I think.
Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna do the El Mole, and I have this one. We'll stand up for El Mole. It's with Cantor Schwartz. It should be on. Yeah, it's on. Yeah, and he's at the museum, Holocaust Museum in Washington, with the dignitaries from the United States government there.
A third of the Jewish people had not been annihilated. Imagine the doctors, the researchers, the artists flourishing.
Yom HaShoah to the Holocaust.
Here we go. This is in the Capitol Rotunda, though.
Basic responsibilities as human beings are not complicated.
I'm not going.
Here we go.
I won't be here.
I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about it. Here we go. Let's listen.
I'm going to Stanford
Right.
tomorrow.
Here we go.
המצא מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים לנשמות 6,000,000 אחינו בני ישראל אנשים, נשים, ילדים וילדות שנהרגו, שנשחטו, שנשרפו, שנחנקו, שנטבעו ושנקברו חיים בידי הנאצים ועוזריהם יימח שמם באושוויץ, מיידנק, טרבלינקה, מאוטהאוזן ובשאר מחנות ההשמדה ומסרו נפשם על קידוש השם בעבור שכולנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם. לכן הבעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם בגן עדן shalom al mishkavam
And let's turn to page 512 and let's recite together the Kaddish for the martyrs of our people. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabba v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael v'agalal v'zman karib imru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabba mevorach le'olam v'lomer maya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitfa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal Shemei dekutcha berichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiyam v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabba min Shemaya Hayim Aleinu v'Kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh Shalom v'imru v'yaseh Shalom Aleinu v'Kol Yisrael v'imru amen.